a single-stringed violin reaches her as she crests the rise through the trees and follows the children into a clearing where the flames lick upwards from a huddled central mass. The girls stand staring curiously. The babysitter stops. She feels the heat on her face and shades her eyes from the glare, trying to see what it is that burns so fiercely. At its heart, something moves, something strangely human. The scream that comes from the nearest girl somehow sharpens the babysitter's focus, and she realizes that what moved was a charred black hand reaching out towards her. Chapter 1. 1. Monday afternoon. The world tilted and the sun flashed back at her, reflected in a fractured mosaic like the pieces of a shattered mirror. Her body was telling her it was 2 a.m. and that she should be asleep. Her brain was informing her that it was mid-afternoon and that sleep was likely to be a distant prospect. Sleep. In 21 hours of travelling, it had successfully eluded her every attempt to embrace it. Although in these past weeks, even sleep had provided no escape. She was not sure which was worse, the waking regrets and recriminations, or the restless nightmares. The gentle oblivion induced by the vodka tonics she had swallowed gratefully during the early hours of the flight had long since passed, leaving her with a dry mouth and a headache that swam somewhere just beyond consciousness. She glanced at the health declaration she had filled in earlier, still clutched in her hand. Welcome to China, for a better and healthier tomorrow. She had drawn a line through the space left for content of declaration. She had nothing to declare, except for a broken heart and a wasted life, and neither of these, as far as she was aware, was infectious, contagious, or carried in the blood. The world tilted again, and now she saw that the dazzling mosaic of light was in fact a pattern of water divided and subdivided into misshapen squares and oblongs. The reflection of a culture 5,000 years old. Green shoots of rice pushing up through the paddies to feed 1 billion hungry mouths. Beyond the haze, to the north, lay the dusty plains of the Gobi Desert. An air hostess walked through the cabin spraying disinfectant into the atmosphere from an aerosol. Chinese regulations, she told them. And the captain announced that they would be landing at Beijing Capital Airport in just under 15 minutes. Ground temperature was a sticky 35 degrees. Centigrade. That was 96 degrees Fahrenheit for the uninitiated. One of countless differences she supposed she would have to get used to in the next 6 weeks. She closed her eyes and braced herself for the landing. Of all the means of escape she might have picked, why had she chosen to fly? She hated airplanes. The overcrowded shuttle bus, filled with the odour of bodies that had not washed for more than 20 hours, lurched to a halt outside the terminal building and spilled its passengers into the simmering afternoon. She headed quickly indoors in search of air conditioning. There was none. If anything, it was hotter inside, the air thick and unbreathable. She was assailed by the sights and sounds and smells of China. People everywhere, as if every flight of the day had arrived at once, passengers fighting for places in the long queues forming at lines of immigration desks. Even in this international transit hall, Margaret drew odd looks from strange oriental faces, who regarded her as the strange face in their midst. And indeed she was. Curling fair hair held back from her face in clasps, and tumbling over her shoulders. Ivory pale skin, and clear blue eyes. The contrast with the black-haired, dark-eyed uniformity of the Han Chinese could not have been starker. She felt her stress level rising, and took a deep breath. "Margaret Campbell! Margaret Campbell!" A shrill voice pierced the hubbub. She looked to see a square uniformed woman of indeterminate middle age pushing brusquely through the advancing passengers, holding aloft a piece of card with the name Margaret Campbell scrawled upon it in clumsy capital letters. It took Margaret a moment to connect the name she saw and the one being called out with herself. I think you might be looking for me," she shouted above the noise, and thought how foolish that sounded. Of course they were looking for her.